Hello again. This is Mike from Mike's Jazz and R&B Reviews. In 1972, singer Dionne Warwick released an album titled Dionne. This would be the first of two albums that she released during that decade that would use her first name as the title. The other album would be released in 1979, but more about that later. Dionne Warwick is known as a singing legend, known for her grace and dignity, and for rarely doing silly love songs. Her material also always had a certain maturity to it. Now, some people might quibble with me putting her in the R&B genre, but I think it's okay to put her there. She started in gospel like a lot of black performers, and while her sound was always a little more pop oriented than a lot of other R&B artists, once again I think she fits comfortably in R&B. Dionne Warwick got her start in the 1960s, and she was especially known for recording the songs written by a great songwriting team, Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And they wrote many of the great songs during the 1960s that she is best known for. Songs such as Walk On By, Do You Know the Way to San Jose, Alfie, Anyone Who Had a Heart, A House Is Not a Home, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, and many others. In 1972, she released Dionne, which was her first album on the Warner Brothers label. And I've always had a special liking for this album. It's a good example of what happens when you match a great singer with really great songs. And I believe that this was the final album that Burt Bacharach and Hal David produced for her while working as a team. Now, Dionne has 10 tracks on it. And as I always do, I like to pull out some of the songs that I find particularly that I found particularly enjoyable. Track one is a song titled "I Just Have to Breathe," and in this song, Dionne's voice is a marvel. It's just uh, so beautiful to listen to her as her voice shifts easily from a rising crescendo one moment to very soft tenderness the next. Track two is a song titled "The Balance of Nature." Once again, Dionne's great voice is put to good use here as she very easily negotiates the rather tricky melody that Bacharach and David produced for this song. Track four is a very well known song, "Close to You." Now, everybody will know this one as probably made famous by a group called the Carpenters. Now, the Carpenters made this in the early 70s, and it was a decidedly pop song. But Dionne takes the song and applies a lot more emotional depth to it. And of course, you're not surprised. I prefer Dionne's version onto anybody else's. And also, Dionne had earlier recorded "Close to You" back in the mid '60s for another one of her albums. Um, Track 5 is a song made popular by a singer named Jane Oliver, My First Night Alone Without You. And here I think Jane Oliver and Dionne Warwick are pretty matched. Both their versions of this song are very good. Are very good. Jane Oliver has many of I think, the same singing characteristics that Dionne Warwick does. Track 7 is really one of my favorites, a song simply titled Love Song. And this song was written by an English songwriter named Leslie Duncan. On Love Song, the arrangement is very simple. You have Dion, and then you have a bass, and you have a guitar, and you have a few background vocals. It is a beautiful song. Track 8 is another remake, a song made famous by a group, a very well-known 1960s group, The Fifth Dimension. The song title is One Less Bell to Answer. Once again, Dion takes this song, just plumbs new emotional depths. This is has a much more emotional, I hate to keep using that word, emotional meaning than the Fifth Dimension version. Um, Two other songs on this album you could describe as message songs. Track 6 is titled Be Aware. This is a song which basically says that those of us living in the United States or in the West who have a lot of much more prosperous than some other parts of the world, and we should be thankful for that. Very interesting song with a very good message. And track 9 is a song, If We Only Have Love. Another very poignant message song about love and peace in the world. Um, I think the 1972 Dionne is a very good album. Now, about 70 years after she released this song, she released another album titled Dionne, and this one is definitely the better known. This was the one produced by Barry Manilow, and this was sort of a comeback album for Dionne because during the 70s, her album sales kind of lagged. And this is the 1979 one produced songs such as I'll Never Love This Way Again. But I want to just do a tip of the cap to the 1972 version. I'm sure the 1979 one is much better known, but the 1972 Dionne, I think, also deserves praise and also deserves to be listened to. Um, if I were to give the 1972 Dionne a rating on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, I would give it a 4. I'd give it a 4. And once again, um, this album is available on YouTube for your listening pleasure. I hope you will check it out. If you want some really excellent singing, excellent arrangements, the way Bacharach and David use instruments, just very creative. Those two guys were geniuses. Some of the best, I think, two of the best songwriters of the second half of the 20th century in the United States, and they did an excellent job on the 1972 Dionne. So that's it for now. As always, thank you very much for listening. And this is Mike from Mike's Jazz and our R&B Reviews.